means bad luck. I'm so sorry about that. But I keep thinking, as in literature, as the way you are producing a view of Iran, which is against the bad luck of Mr. Ahmadinejad, I wanted to tell you something about my name in Persian, which would also tell you something about Iranian history. Iranians still celebrate the New Year according to the Zoroastrian rite of spring, which is 21st of March. And every year, this government has tried to make them not do it because they call it, this is the religion of fire worshippers, and you shouldn't do it. And every year they do it even more gloriously. The names of calendars of the month in Persian calendar are according to the names of Zoroastrian gods. My name Azar means December, and I was born in the month of December. And December, Azar was the god of fire. So that is what the name means in Persian. I'm so sorry that it means bad luck in Portuguese. So I want to tell you that the first thing they did was take away your reality, the way you looked, the way you talked, the way you were. The second thing they did was take away your history, because not having a history, not knowing history, is like becoming an orphan. All of a sudden, you have lost who you were, therefore you don't know who you are. And the third thing they took away from us was the culture. Because culture is always the language of truth. If I want to know about Brazil, I don't go to the politicians, even the ones that are popular. I go to the Brazilian history. I discover about how Brazil got its independence. I discover about how Brazil has become the most non-violent country in South America in order to change. I go and read Clarice. I listen to Brazilian music. I even watch Brazilian soccer, which my children are crazy about, you know. And I get an image of the people in my mind, of their sensuality, of this culture. I went to the ballet the other night here, the corpo group, of the flexibility of their bodies, how the mind and the body, you know, dances together, how the rhythms of the dance in Brazil becomes in my mind the sounds of music. This is how I know Brazil. Then I discover about Mr. Lula, and whom you're going to vote for in the next elections. So for the regime, the dangerous thing was imagination. You cannot take imagination and put it in jail. You can't kill it. It will always be in the minds of the people. So they tried to disconnect us from the world by banning books, banning music. You know, they showed Popeye, the Popeye cartoon, on television. They tried to censor olive oil because did you know that olive oil was a loose woman? She was not married to Popeye. You know, they took Desdemona from most of the scenes in Othello, and they took away Othello's suicide because they said masses become really unhappy if they see Sir Laurence Olivier commit suicide on the screen. Masses in Iran do not get depressed when they're stoned to death. They say, oh, it's our culture, you know, but they get depressed because of Othello committing suicide. They took away music. They banned even Dan Brown and the girl with the pearl earrings, you know. So the whole point that I'm trying to say is that they tried to cut our contact with the world by cutting our contact with its culture. And that brings me to specifically to the question that you said. An act of disobedience in Iran became not political but existential. The way you saw the women in Iran showing their chador, lipstick became weapons of mass destruction. When young girls in Iran dress the way they do, they are making a statement in the streets of Tehran against this regime, saying, we don't accept you. And what are you going to do? Kill millions of young girls and boys because they listen to rap and they show their hair? So the struggle is existential. And one thing they did was they connected to the world through reading, through music, through its art, through its films. And I had this class with my 7 of my best female students where we read the books and we could talk about them freely regardless of what the government was doing. So we read Lolita, we read Madame Bovary, we read Shahrazad and 1001 Nights, and that is how they connected. The last thing I want to say, Iran is one of the few countries in the world where young men and women have been flogged because they read Flaubert. In the show trials last year, they forced some of the former reformists to come to the trial and admit that they were doing wrong because they were reading Max Weber. So Max Weber, Hannah Arendt, Karl Popper are dangerous weapons in Iran. You should know that the weapons that are dangerous against tyranny are not guns. It is not military occupation. It is not attacking a country. The most potent weapon against the Iranian government is public support of the voices in Iran, and it is democratic culture. They are more afraid of Hannah Arendt than they are of American guns. And so we should use Clarice and Hannah Arendt and Brazilian music in order to not support this tyranny.